I knew it would have to be a multiple heroine story because I wanted the reader to walk away with the idea that Bletchley Park itself was something of a character in its own right, and also to walk away with an understanding to some degree of how it is that, encrypted intelligence moved through those gates and then almost went on a sort of conveyor belt of different stations where everyone did their different piece to it and then came out again as usable intelligence that could be deployed in the field. And the thing that I realized very quickly is that if I tried to do that through only one woman's eyes, it really couldn't happen because this secrecy mania was so intense that everyone was encouraged to keep their eyes on their own work only. It was very stovepiped, as they call it. And so there isn't one woman who would have an understanding of the whole process. There just wasn't. So therefore, I knew I had to have, I thought 3 was a good number, 3 women who were all in different stages of the process. So therefore, I decided to have Beth, who is my cryptanalyst genius. She's the one of those big brains whose responsibility was quite, dauntingly to wedge a foot in the door of, an impenetrable wall of code and try to get that foot in the door so there's a crack so that the machines have a chance to get it open the rest of the way. And then there's Mab, the London East Ender, whose job it is to maintain and work the machines who do the decoding and who do the rest of that cracking it open. And then there is Osla, who is my Canadian-born London debutante with beautiful finishing school German, whose job it is to take all that intelligence once it's decoded, and she's the one who translates it from German to English so that the Admiralty and the British Army can use it on the ground. And so with these 3, you have more of an understanding of, okay, this is how the intelligence moves, and this is the process that it undergoes. And that gave me a nice wide range of experiences too, because the other thing that fascinated me about Bletchley Park was really how truly diverse it was. You could have people from all walks of life, all levels of education, and all strata of society working elbow to elbow. And really, it did not matter where you came from or what your education was if you could get the job done. And the women who worked there really did talk with a certain nostalgia about, there was a level of equality that they found there that they weren't likely to find in women's workplaces otherwise. And they said, this is a place where overall, I'm not saying it's a complete bastion of total 21st century or 22nd, 23rd century equality, but it was a place where a woman's voice could be heard much more than it could on the outside in many places. So I wanted to show that. And, I was able to show through my 3 ladies who come from very different, backgrounds. These are women who would not even have met in the ordinary course of life, much less become friends, but they are thrown together in this very unique place. And because of that, they do become friends. And because of that, they their own lives change forever. And, you could even say that it has an effect on, the national stage as well. When I do dual timelines, I usually cut back and forth between them because I find it's easier to tease out the parallels between the 2 timelines when I'm cutting back and forth. But for this one, I wasn't sure what happened in that 3rd act quite yet. So really, I wrote all the warrior stuff first at Bletchley Park, all the way up to D-Day, which is sort of the point when everything splits and then comes back together. And then after that, I had to sort of sit down and think, okay, what really does happen? I knew it was 1947. I knew it was going to be the lead up to the royal wedding. And I knew that, history had given me this wonderful tidbit where we do know that there was a Russian mole at Bletchley Park who was passing information to the Soviets. And I thought, well, that makes a tremendously good post-war, mystery to unravel after Bletchley Park closes down after the war. And I knew I needed that because, if I just covered the warriors of Bletchley Park, the book would have ended with, all right, girls, please never talk about your work here. Feel free to go home, get married, and become housewives. And again, just don't talk about anything you did here. And it would have been them saying, oh, okay, of course we'll do that. And that would have been the end. And that's not very exciting. But since history, so I wanted to have something after the war that would let us explore what did these women who had done this code breaking work feel now that the war was done. And they had been told essentially to go home and just get on with things. How does that feel? Is it difficult to put that work behind you, or is it a relief? And so that let me explore that. And it also let me explore the whole idea of the fact that, well, there was a Russian mole at Bletchley Park, and how could that have unfolded in some direly secret way? And I love the idea too that, my Bletchley people could pull together, for the one last hurrah sort of idea, which I enjoyed a lot. And it allowed a little bit of a thread of tension to come through the book as well, because, the trouble with, or the thing that made this book very unique, and it was a difficulty about writing it, a change from the Huntress and the Alice Network, is that this book is about code breakers, and their fight is emotional and intellectual, and the arena that they fight on is in the mind. And they're not under danger, spying in a war zone in danger of being arrested and shot. They are not in a cockpit of a plane dropping bombs in danger of being shot out of the sky. This is not physical danger that the women code breakers are in. It is more like a mental and emotional struggle. And the thing is that is every bit as important, and it is every bit as, grueling. But at the same time, the challenge was, can I make this exciting? The fact that their fight is, a bunch of women who are, locked up in little green huts, scribbling on pieces of paper. And so it was a challenge to make this fight, just as interesting and absorbing and, fighting as, soaring through the air in a bomber plane. And that really was a tricky thing to do. I hope I succeeded, but that's the kind of fight that it was. And in the end, one of the things I wanted to make clear too to the reader is that intelligence is just knowledge. Information is the most important commodity in any war, because you can have, as one of the characters in the book says, all the bombs, all the arrows, all the spears, all the planes and warships in the world. If you don't know where to send them, where to deploy them, they are useless. Intelligence, information has always been one of, if not the most critical thing to fighting any war. You need to know what's going on. And that in the end is the thing that makes the Bletchley Park codebreakers extraordinary, because it's estimated that maybe 2 years is too long, but they certainly shortened World War II by possibly as much as 2 years, and even less possibly. But if it's less, that's still going to be hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of lives, if you're also considering people on the ground who are civilians being, horribly injured or murdered by Hitler. And that's the reason why their fight is important, even though it didn't involve physical danger.